everybody, good people, as people like to say. Hey, good people. Hey, everybody, it's Angelique, and I am back for yet another week of my podcast, Silent No More. It is my domestic violence awareness podcast. I do this every week for a great purpose. For me, obviously, it's my story. I think you guys know that. It was my story. I have experienced domestic violence. And I swear to you, you could have never told me that was going to be my story. But it is, and it was. And now here I am, live on this podcast to bring more awareness to something that is difficult to talk about. A lot of people have been through it, hard to discuss. But I am hoping that you guys can hear me. Last week I had some issues with the signal. So I am hoping that I can get some comments here. Y'all can let me know what's happening right now. Let me know if I'm okay, if I'm streaming okay, because last week we had some issues. If I have to, I'll just keep talking. It'll be the audio, but y'all need to hear this message. Hey, Queen, how are you? Let me know if you guys can hear me, because this is, and see me. Maybe that's the big deal. Can you see me? Because if you can't, I'm going to have to make some adjustments for my technical side. I'm going to check my text messages to make sure, can you guys see me or not? But let me just get started. Hello to my courageous queens. First of all, I know Chantel's on here. Hello to my courageous queens and my courageous kings. I am so happy to be here. Again, I'm Angelique Pierce. I am the founder of Ladder Masters Inspirational Leadership Group. I always go by Ladder Masters, but I'm more than that. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I am an advocate of freedom and truth. That is so important to me. And when I get on here to speak, I speak for three reasons, and only three. That is to bring awareness, break down facades, and build conquerors. Period. End of story. That is why I'm here. So good to see you this week. Hey, listen, we're going to get started. But before I do, I definitely want you to stop, take a moment, and hit that share button. I hear it's a little glitchy. Hit that share button. Please do. Hit that share button. I think, Salima, thank you. I think next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to hardwire in. I'm going to hardwire into my modem, and that might make a difference. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to keep talking and pray that you guys can hear me even if you cannot see me. So tonight's episode is the second installation of a 4-week book discussion series that I'm doing, and it's on this book, Surviving Domestic Violence, Voices of Women Who Broke Free. I was one of them. Thank God I was one of them. And it is written by Dr. Elaine Weiss. So again, welcome to my podcast. If you haven't done it just yet, hit that share button, tag somebody in this, make sure people are getting this because it's so important. It's the truth that everybody tries to cover up. It's the truth that we all probably hid when we were going through it because we felt the need to. We were ashamed. Not anymore. What is this podcast called? It's called Silent No More for a very specific reason. So share it. Hey, Jacob, good to see you guys. Hi, everybody. Y'all making me feel good tonight. If it gets glitchy, stay with me. Please stay with me because the message is powerful. It is powerful. Thank you to Dr. Elaine Weiss for, first of all, writing this book. Before I go any further, I want to do my quick prayer. I always do. That's important to me, but it's also important to you as someone who's listening to put us all in the right mindset for what we're about to hear tonight. All right, so bow your heads. God, we come before you, thanking you for yet again another day. It is Sunday. It is your day. It is truly the first day of the week. But God, I know somewhere, somebody isn't having the same day that we're having. Why? Because there are so many victims of domestic violence. There are so many survivors of domestic violence, and we all need a little bit to help us take that one step further to either break free or to find our healing after breaking free. So right now, I put all of the victims and all of the survivors before you. I lay them at your feet and ask you to bring them joy, bring them peace, bring them that thing they all want, which is liberty, because I craved it. I needed it. I was begging for it. So God, I thank you for where you are taking this episode. I pray that you use my mouth, my mind, my heart, my spirit for this discussion. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, so here we go. I always have some acknowledgments, and some of my folks are on here. My family, the UB Podcast Network family, UB meaning Unique Blessings. I'm a part of the Unique Blessings nonprofit organization. I actually recently became the secretary. I think I need to do a post about that, Chantel. I never did. I never made a post about it. I need to make a post about the fact that I am now officially on the board as a secretary of Unique Blessings nonprofit organization, a phenomenal organization, which you saw the commercial for moments ago. But I'm about to get into this discussion. So if you haven't shared it yet, if you haven't shared it, we got a problem. But right now, go ahead and share this to somebody, anybody, a group. Tag somebody that you know needs to hear this message because I'm getting ready to get started. All right. And I don't want them to miss a thing. All right. Are you ready? Y'all know I told y'all I prepare. I have read this book inside out, left and right. I've got this thing down and I've got a lot of things to tell y'all today. So here we go. The book, if you don't remember, Surviving Domestic Violence, is centered on the stories of 11 women who survived domestic violence, who survived abuse. Now, my goodness, y'all, I swear to you, as I read these, there are pieces of my story in every single one of these stories I read. God, it's like the thing just smacks me in my face as I'm looking at it. So thank you all for joining. All right, good. So, all right. All right, cool. Oh, by the way, I hope y'all can see, I'm trying to let my hair grow out. I had this conversation with Chantel the other day. I'm trying to let my hair grow out. My bestie, my best friend in Philly, Tanara, she was like, let it grow out, get bigger. So y'all keep me posted. I guess I'm doing all right. I'm trying. I don't know. All right, so let me do a few highlights from last week's discussion because that was good too. I know the technology kind of screwed us over, but there's the audio. And if you haven't seen it, you can go out to YouTube. I made it nice into a nice movie. You can still hear it. It's important. It's out on my YouTube channel for Ladder Masters. All right. Last week's discussion focused on the introduction and on section 1 of the book. I'm going to say a few key things from that. In the introduction of the book, Dr. Weiss presents this really powerful concept. And the concept is that abuse isn't just abuse, it's actually a campaign of abuse, meaning there's a strategy behind that thing. Are y'all listening to me? So she writes this on page 7. Many stories focus instead on the subtle campaign of abuse, wearying and corrosive, which trapped their teller, meaning the 11 women in this story, which trapped their teller in a web of daily threats. Oh, thank you. Oh my God, Nikki's on here. Oh my God. Y'all don't even understand right now. Y'all don't even understand right now. Nikki, girl. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you so much. I am smiling ear to ear. I can't even stop. Okay. All right. So, section 1, page 21. She says, I know that they abuse, not out of anger. This is the part where I didn't agree with the author. I'm just going to go here for a second. I did not agree with the author. She says, I know that they abuse not out of anger. I agree with that, but out of a desperate need to control. Okay, I'm going to go with you on that. She said, I know that they can't just stop, that they need professional help. Okay, here's the part. She said, and I sympathize, just as I sympathize with drug addicts. And I was like, wait a minute. That's the part right there. Oh, Mama Sheila. That's the part right there I can't get with. I can't. I don't. I literally do not in any way, shape, or form sympathize with abusers at all. At all. I'm never going to. And last week, I went into a whole tirade about what they actually deserve, because sympathy is what they don't deserve. And I was like, they need to be dragged in the street naked, right? They need to be buried under the jail. Like I said, all that stuff. And I still mean it to this day. But my best friend, she pulled my tail. She said, you can't match violence with violence. I said, okay, that's fine. But let me at least explain why I said what I said, because there's a reason why I said what I said. And I still mean it today. So my why starts with the basic definition of domestic violence. Domestic violence is the willful, WILLFUL. It is the willful intimidation, threats, physical, sexual assault. It's willful, meaning it's by choice, meaning it has been decided by the person who's doing it and they continue to do it. It is a pattern. It isn't an oops, a my bad, my fault, homie. No, no, no. It is a pattern and it's systematic. So no, I don't feel sympathy, empathy, none of the pathies, none of them. I don't feel any of them. So when you think about that, that's why I disagree. I want you all to be very clear about something. The behavior of abusers is very calculated. That it is 100%. It is a choice that they make every single day, every single moment to do what they're doing. What they don't choose, what they're not choosing to do, is to go get the help they need and to stop that nonsense because they're literally putting someone else's life in danger. And they're also abusing the kids who witness this stuff. Admit it or not, abusers, you are also abusing the children who witness it. So let's be very clear. It's a choice that gets made. So they're not angry. They are not confused. It's none of that. It is a choice. That's why I feel no sympathy. So let's keep going. I think I made my point, right? All right. On the back cover of the book, there is a review given by someone who's, I don't know her name, but she gives a review to the book. And she says, Dr. Weiss finds that breaking isolation, listen, she finds that breaking isolation, which all victims find themselves in, they get isolated from those who truly love them. But breaking isolation is the key to leaving. Only, she doesn't just call it leaving, she calls it escaping. Because leaving is what you do when a movie is over. Y'all hear me? Everybody's like, why doesn't she just leave? Why doesn't he just leave? Leaving is what you do when the movie is over and you just get up and you leave the theater. That's not domestic violence, baby. When you get out of a domestic violence situation, you are literally escaping. And she says escaping takes not a little bit, not a taste, not a piece. It takes enormous courage. And for that, I bow my head down to any victim who survives and escapes. Thank God I did. All right, that was last week. Now we're going to get to this week. This week's discussion of this amazing book. I love this book. Oh my gosh, it's so reflective. This week, we're going to jump into section 2. And it's titled Getting Out is the name of that section. And it focuses on the stories of 3 more women. Peg McBride, I don't know if these are their real names, honestly, but whatever, we're going to go with it. Peg McBride, Carolee Curtis, and Becky Pepper. That one's the one that made me go, are these real names? Becky Pepper. But the stories in section 2 of the book really illustrate that getting out of an abusive relationship is not sometimes, not typically, but always a complex process. Are y'all hearing me? All right. I think y'all, I'm so happy. There's so many of y'all here that my joy is just like coming out of me. All right. So let's start with Peg McBride. Interesting analogy to open her piece of the chapter. She says, this is how she described domestic violence. She said, I assembled the jigsaw puzzle. I assembled the jigsaw puzzle. It was like pieces of a puzzle. Once I got enough of the pieces for what it really was, I think maybe that's when I could leave. She's basically saying, I got a bit here and a bit there. And y'all know, y'all have all done puzzles. We were all kids, and even as adults, I love puzzles. But they're pieces, and you dump them out the box, and nothing means anything. And you're trying to match colors or patterns that seem like these 3 all look like clouds, or these 3 all look like a street, and it doesn't make sense at first because it's all scattered. It's not until you start putting the pieces together and they begin to form a picture that you actually know what you're looking at. That, my friends, I swear to you, was one of the best descriptions of domestic violence because that was so me. She said, to me, like a piece of a puzzle, one puzzle piece doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But as she collected the puzzle pieces of his behavior, of his past, of the way he interacted with her, of the things he said, of the inconsistencies of his behavior, that's when she began to see that her husband, because she was married to her abuser, her husband's abuse was in fact a strategy. It was a strategy. So was my ex-husband's abuse. It was a strategy. And it was a strategy that was designed to keep her attention focused on, check this out, because it was my experience too. It was a strategy designed to keep her attention focused on her own flaws and away from his flaws. That's what they do. Abusers are a whole damn mess. I promise you. I promise you, if you stop and try to find out what's going on with their career, what's going on with their money, what's going on with their credit, if you stop to find out how many times they actually were married, how many children they actually do have, how many women they've abused in the past, how they've stolen things from the government, how they've quit jobs, started jobs, quit jobs, started jobs. I promise you, if you had all that, if you had those pieces to the jigsaw puzzle, you wouldn't be bothered. I wouldn't have been bothered. I didn't have all the pieces. Most of us don't. So when someone's giving you the pieces and telling you the deal about somebody you're dealing with, please listen. Sometimes your friends and your family, Tanara, if you're on here, I'm talking to you, baby girl. Sometimes your friends and your family just know something. They don't know it, like they don't fully understand, but they know something's off. Listen to your friends, your family, and the people who were your day ones, as my friend Crystal liked to say, my day one friends. Listen to them. All right. So this was absolutely true for me as well. I felt like in my circumstance that there were like 1,000 awesome moments with him. And then something awkward would happen or like bothersome and it just didn't sit right with me. It would happen, but it seemed like it was an isolated situation or an event that wasn't like the other 1,000 pieces of good data that I had on him. And so what I would do is I would file that moment away in the back of my mind, just kind of saying, maybe that was just a mishap. Maybe he just made a mistake here or there because I had all this other evidence to the other side. Why? Because that moment was more of, as I would say, or people like that like math would say, it was an outlier. It was more of an outlier than it was of evidence of like coming abuse. I swear to you, there was nothing that was happening early in my relationship that made me think in about 3 months from now, he's going to hit me in my chest. Like it, no, it didn't happen. I didn't have enough of the puzzle pieces, like Peg said. I didn't have enough of them to see a picture. All right. God, I swear. I know hindsight's 2020. I know we can't fix everything. I know we can't go back and change the past, but God, I just wish somebody who knew the real him would have just stepped up and told me the truth. They had all the puzzle pieces, okay? They had all of them. As a matter of fact, they had seen that puzzle get put together multiple times across multiple relationships with other women in abuse situations that they've seen him in and him perpetrate. But they didn't give me the answer key to the puzzle. If they just but God is still good. So let's keep going. All right, page 70. Ah, ah, page 70. This is an interesting one to me because it's true to my situation. So on page 70, Peg's husband tries to, or she explains how he made her feel like she was less than, the thing we all talk about. People tending to try to make you feel like you're less than. So she said her husband tried to make her feel like she had a lot to learn, like she was just so inexperienced. She said he could see that he was going to have to teach her the difference between true culture and this mass market stuff, right? Like he was the answer. So his lesson, as she explains, left her feeling more and more unsure of herself than ever. So check this out. I don't even think Tanara knows this one. This is a familiar space for me. My situation was similar, meaning the point of what he was doing was the same, but the circumstance was different. So in my situation, my ex-husband used the same kind of, you don't really know, and I've got to show you because you're younger and you've never been married. And I've been married before. I have kids, so I know how this goes, and you don't. He played that game. And it was very interesting. It was a very interesting strategy because he was acting like, listen, he was acting like the expert on how real relationships should go as he was slowly moving me into an abusive marriage. But that's a whole nother thing. But he was acting like it because I was never married before and he had been, that he was the expert on real relationships, not just boyfriends and girlfriends, but real relationships. But from his perspective, I couldn't really possibly know because I never had the experience of being a wife, right? So, oh God, this came up multiple times. Y'all hear me? This conversation came up multiple times with him about what my past relationships were and how they weren't really long or whatever. His goal, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the bottom of all their nonsense, these abusers' nonsense. The goal was to make himself seem like the expert and thus the person I needed to listen to and to learn from, when in fact, he was the last person I needed to learn a single damn thing from. He was not the authority on love, not the authority on relationships, and certainly not the authority on marriage. Let's be clear about that, or how our relationship should go. So be aware. Be aware of things that people you're dating, when they hone in on what's considered your weaknesses or areas where you're not most experienced, and they make a thing of it. When people make a thing of it, pay attention, because sometimes they are trying to lower your self-esteem and make you feel, as we say, less than. Y'all with me? All right. I hope y'all with me, because this stuff is important. All right. Now we get to page 72 and 73. We're still on Peg. Peg's husband, this is the interesting part. Her husband never hurt her during their courtship. So she actually experienced courting, like many of us talk about. We learn about that in church. A lot of us do. He never physically did anything to her during their courtship. So she didn't realize that his nasty remarks or his cruel jokes or any of that stuff, like that was a part of psychological abuse. We all tend to think about the things that you see in these movies, right? I always say this, the black eyes, the busted noses, you got a busted lip or it's bleeding somewhere, or maybe you got bruises on your arms. Everyone seems to think of those. We tend to, let's put it that way, because those are the things we can see. There is so much more going on in a domestic violence situation. And if you're not paying attention, if you're looking for the black eye or the broken nose or the busted lip, you will absolutely miss what is truly happening to you, like I did. You will miss what's happening to you because you don't have a basis of understanding of the entirety of what domestic violence truly includes. All right. So Peg said that, she said, I thought, hey, the name calling is what she's referring to. It's not the biggest part of our relationship. Like, she was evaluating, it's not that bad. She says she thought there was so much good to it too. She said the bad was 10% the first year, then 20% the second year, then 30%, and so on and so on. And she's absolutely right. Because in the cycle of abuse, you see a little bit and then more and then more. And at some point, the good is gone. There is no more good. Now it's constant situations of abuse to keep you weighed down, torn down, broken, where you can't even come up for air. I so remember that. I so remember feeling like I can't breathe in here. Like, there's no space. There's no place in here where I can get away from him. This house ain't big enough for me to find my way away from him. I remember page 73. She says, in a way, finding a rational explanation for his abuse was comforting to her. So if she sat back and said, well, it's not that bad, or he only did it because of this, or it only happened because of that, then that somehow comforted her and gave her more of a reason to stay. It's very interesting. So here's what she said. She said if she couldn't control him, she couldn't control how he was behaving. She could certainly control herself. Listen to that. So she took the responsibility of his behavior, of how he was acting, how he was misbehaving, mistreating, abusing, hurting, and said, you know what? Maybe if I do something different, if I change the way I am, and then I can put it on me, I can control me, right? If I fix this or fix that, let me tell y'all something. If you ain't get it from any of my other podcasts, let me be really, really clear. There is not, if you are with an abuser, everybody's not an abuser. They're not. Every man is not. Every woman is not. Let's put that out there. If you are with an abuser, there's not a single thing you can do. There's no way that you can change yourself. Nothing you can say, no way that you can make your sex so good or your food taste so good. It doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do to stop that person from abusing. That's a bit of truth that I need all the ladies, all the men who are currently in a situation of domestic violence. I need you to get honest with yourself. I told y'all I'm on here to speak the truth. The truth is, If you are with somebody who abuses, they're going to abuse. You're not special. I hate to say it that way. You're not special. If to them, you're not special to them. There's nothing you can do to stop that behavior. Okay? Do you hear me? Good. All right. So here, I'm going to share something with you guys because I want you to understand, just even reading this part, she talked about the way he abused her when it became physical. So this is the same lady, Peg. She said his favorite technique, oh, this disgusts me. She said his favorite technique, chosen perhaps because it did not leave up any visible marks, was to pound her on the top of her head with his fist. Okay. So nobody's going to see the black eyes. Nobody's going to see a busted lip, but I'm going to smash her with my fist on the top of her head with no regard to what's that doing to her, what it's doing to her mind, her brain, her skull, nothing. No concern. That's what I'm going to do because it won't show the marks and I can get away with it. She said what she does remember is that he kicked her. Listen to these tactics they use. He kicked her while she was pregnant. He had never hurt her when she was pregnant with their first child. This was new to her. He kicked her in her behind while she was pregnant. So that sent her forward. It's crazy. She said, unable to control Peg in any other way, she realized that divorce was the only way to get away from him. But when she tried to divorce him, he knew, you know what? Okay, she's getting away from me. All right, but I'm going to hold out. I'm going to make it difficult for her to divorce me because that's my last final hold on her. When I tell you that abusers will do whatever it takes to gain and maintain control, I need you to hear me. Listen, y'all, I ain't even planning to tell this. I was getting out of my marriage. We were in the process of divorcing. In the process, the papers, the court hearings, the multiple court hearings. God, do you know that at some point my ex-husband realized that he forgot to ask for visitation with the dog? No, I don't think you really heard me. He realized that he forgot to ask and put in a court document request for visitation with the dog. And because he forgot and then realized that he forgot, held up the final signing of the paperwork, that was one of the things in his list that he wanted to be able to have the dog, my dog, that I take care of, my dog, to go to his house. That's the kind of craziness that when they on their last straw and they got nothing left, they will do whatever it takes to just maintain some kind of control. Unfreaking believable. Next page. All right. So here's the thing. At some point, Peg remarried, which I think is awesome. But she admits that it took like the first 3 years of that marriage before she was able to stop defending herself from attacks that never came from her new husband. She was so used to it. She was so used to looking out and being on high alert. What's going to happen now? What is he going to say now? What did I do wrong now? She was so used to it that it took 3 years in her new marriage for her to even relax enough to stop looking for attacks that never came because her new husband was not abusive. Period. That wasn't his thing. Wasn't going to do it to her. So, all right. Last thing I want to say about Peg's story is that a majority of her abuse was ordinarily termed verbal abuse, the name calling, all of that stuff, just trashing her. But I will tell you that Dr. Weiss, the writer of this book, she says she prefers to use the phrase psychological abuse to describe the entire range of behaviors: criticism, teasing, experience all of it, sarcasm, swearing, threats, accusations. We'll get to some of that from my side. Jealousy, isolation, among other things. But this is what these abusers do. They accuse. They accuse. You're constantly on the defense. They're constantly on the offense. You always are defending yourself, deflecting, trying to avoid the drama, but you can't because they're always going to bring it. But the bottom line is the whole goal is they want to diminish you. They want as amazing as you are. Every single one of y'all watching this right now, I know how amazing you are, but they want to diminish you. That's abusers. That's what they do. I'm going to pause right here before I get to the next story. Hey, listen, if you have not yet shared this broadcast, I am asking you, stop right now. Think of a one somebody. Think of a group that you're a part of. Just share it. Just share it because somebody needs to hear it. I promise you. The statistic says 1 in 4 women have experienced domestic abuse, domestic violence in their lifetime. 1 in 4, y'all. I tell people, if you ain't think about it, make it plain. Count it off. Think about your friends. Think about your coworkers. Think about your church members or wherever your religious institution is. 1, 2, 3, 4. That fourth person. 1, 2, 3, 4. That fourth person, woman, is very likely to have experienced domestic violence or maybe in it at the moment. All right, let's keep going. So what do we got? Ooh, let me see what Chantel said. Shaking my head. They will do whatever. And I mean whatever, y'all, to keep you in bondage. And she says, I'm happy you got away and pray that others are able to get out and stay out. Because it's not just the getting out, y'all. It's the staying out. Another statistic, not to be all scientific, but I love this stuff. Another statistic says that it takes on average 7 times for a victim to fully get out of their abusive situation. 7 times. The trying to escape does not always work. And there are many reasons why. We're going to talk about that. All right. Next person. Her name is Carol Lee. Carol Lee says in hers, this is page 84. We're on page 84 of the book in case you happen to have it or want to go back and look at it later. She says, her situation has a lot to do with her child, like mine did as well. She said, I was too immature to recognize that damage could occur emotionally to my son as well. So this chapter is very important. So now I'm talking to any of my ladies, any of my men, meaning my queens or my kings. If you have children who are watching you go through the experience of domestic violence, I want you to understand, I'm not mincing any words, your kids are being abused as well. Please hear me. Yeah, maybe he's not or she's not necessarily grabbing that child by the throat, throwing him across the floor. But if your child is seeing it, hearing it, and feeling that energy in the house, I promise you, they are being abused as well. Emotionally, psychologically, it's a real thing. Do not discount those. All right. So check this out. Some of the interesting things that happened to Carol Lee, she had a lot of restrictions. I mean, her abuser was hell-bent on isolating her and creating an atmosphere of fear for her. So I'm on page 85. Carol Lee was only allowed to drive the car to the supermarket and back. Listen to the kinds of restrictions that these women find themselves in. To the supermarket and back. And listen, her husband would actually scrutinize the odometer. Oh my God. She would come back and he would basically look and see how many miles from when she left to when she came back. And is that the distance to the supermarket? Because if you went anywhere else, I'm going to hurt you. That's essentially what was going on. He would scrutinize the odometer to be sure she hadn't made any, you ready for the word she used? Any unauthorized side trips. Oh, Jesus Christ. It just gets to me. Bondage, absolutely. So Carol Lee says she realized that her husband was abusive from the start. When she looks back on it, let's be clear, when she looks back on it, she sees that he was abusive from the start. She said, when we were dating, oh, this bothers me. This whole one just gets to me. All right. She says, when we were dating, he would be forcing me into sexual things that I had never even heard of. So I want to put a pin right there, because again, we think of abuse as a black eye or busted lip. Okay, I got that, but there's other aspects of it, and sexual abuse is absolutely one of them. When you are being pressured or forced to do things sexually, and I do not care if that person is your husband. If you said no, damn it, the answer is no. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. I'm not in the mood. I'm not feeling it. Maybe later. Every one of those things you have the right to say. I don't care if you are married to them. In this case, it was her boyfriend. She was dating him, and she says he would be forcing her into sexual things that she had never even heard of, y'all. Never even heard of. And she says she finds herself wondering, but who do I talk to about it? Like, who do I even go to about this? She said once they got married, Once they got married, he started slapping, fighting, and shoving her. So other things happened prior to the marriage. And then once they got into the marriage, his style of abuse changed. I hate even saying that, but his style of abuse changed. Page 89. She said at one point, an officer approached her. They were in the military, or one of them was in the military. And one of the military officers on the base approached her with a concern. Basically, like, hey, like, I don't like what's going on here. I'm seeing some weird things. Are you good? And she said, well, her ex-husband's name was Frank. She says Frank didn't really mean anything by his outbursts. She assured this officer that he only acted that way if he was provoked. So now I want to be clear what I just said. The victim told someone who was an officer who showed concern for her. She said, oh no, it's not really that bad, right? She said this. I've been there. Listen. She assured them that he was only acting that way if he was provoked. I want to take that and pull it apart just for a second. She convinced herself that what he was doing to her was his fault, that she must have been provoking him because otherwise he wouldn't do a thing like that. It's not true. And I will say it again. These abusers are not angry about a daggone thing. They are going to abuse whether you're a perfect angel or you're the daggone devil. That's what they choose to do. So she wasn't provoking him, and there was nothing she could do to stop him from doing what he was doing. She had to escape, bottom line. So the interesting thing about this is that this is reminiscent from the first story from Peg, where she said she couldn't control him, but she could certainly control herself because she figured if she found this pattern of what was upsetting him, if she could just come up with the pattern of what she was doing that was upsetting him, then certainly she could avoid all of that. No, no, no. Listen, y'all, I talk to a lot of victims. God, I get phone calls and text messages and Facebook messages from a lot of victims. I talk to a lot of them on the phone. I hear the same things about he's just this way and it's better this way and this time it's like that, but really it's not that bad. Yes, it is. It was that bad for me. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to say it. Half the time I even understand it. I didn't even understand or have the right definition for what was happening to me. But when you've got somebody around you saying, hey, baby girl, let me pull your collar just for a second. Something's not right here. Can we all just stop and listen and stop being so determined to have our love and have our man and hold on to this thing that really is nothing but sinking sand in the first place? Gosh, I just wish I could help everybody. But let me tell y'all a story that relates to this whole thing of protecting the abuser. My story. Y'all ready? I never told this one, so it's a little awkward. I think I told you guys before that abuse changes over time. And so my ex-husband got into this thing of, I'm going to cripple you from being able to perform your daily whatevers, go to work, get to work on time. I'm going to take your money. I'm going to take your debit cards. I'm going to steal your car keys. I will take your phone. I'm going to make you think you lost your phone when I actually, in fact, took it and hid it. Yeah, This time, this story I'm about to tell you is about the keys of the car. So a lot of y'all know I drive a company car. And so he took my keys and would not give them back to me. And he literally ran into the garage. This pisses me off. He ran to the garage and jumped in my car and tried to like lock the doors real quick so that he could basically take my car and drive off and go hide it. So I couldn't find it. I wouldn't know where it was. Well, I tell y'all all the time, there is something about growing up in the Northeast. There is something about growing up in Philly that you just don't let stuff happen, right? You gotta fight. You learn growing up in the hood to fight and to stand. And so I thought, God, I don't know where this is going, but I'm jumping in this car. And if you're gonna drive off in this car, you driving off with me in the car. I don't know where we're going, but I'm in this car because you're not gonna just take my car. So I get in the car and he is trying to tell me to get out. Get out, get out. Why would I get out? So now I'm in the car and I'm just like, we're gonna be in this thing together. Wherever it's going, it's going. So me being from Philly, y'all know we learn how to fight. You grow up learning how to fight on the block. You just do. And I'm in the passenger seat in the front. He's in the driver's seat trying to drive off, but now he's mad because I'm in the car. So I'm looking out the corner of my eye, pretending to not see, but I can see in my peripheral view where those keys are. And he's not doing a good job of protecting them. And so in my mind, I got fast hands. I promise y'all I do. I got fast hands. And I thought, I'm going to get those keys from him one way or another. And when I tell y'all with the swiftness, I took my left hand, I shot my left hand over to the other side, and I got my hands on those keys, y'all. I got my hands on those keys. And now his strength versus my strength, pulling back and forth on a pair of keys. I'm trying to get the keys from him. He's trying to keep them from me. We're going back and forth, going back and forth. My hands are being cut by the keys. I'm assuming his hands are being cut by the keys too. I don't care. My hands are being cut by the keys, so my hands have blood on them. But what happened? Your girl got the keys from him. Got the keys from him. So now he is pissed. And he's so mad that he doesn't know what else to do but to try to hurt me. So what does he do? He takes his right arm, puts it around my neck, and puts me in a headlock. So now I'm in the passenger seat, front passenger seat. I got the keys, but now I can't freaking breathe because he's got his arm around my neck, and I'm turning my head. I'm trying to like find a gap for some air, and I'm trying to get some air some kind of way. Well, eventually I get his arm from around my neck and we get out the car. I call the cops. Here's where the point of the story comes in. I call the cops. The police officer arrives. At this point, he knows I called the cops. So he jumped in the other car that we had and drove off and went wherever. Cops arrive. The guy comes to the door. The police officer comes to the door. And I'm telling him what happened. He said, "Where is he?" I said, "I don't know. He's left already." And instead of showing him, which I should have, God, to this day, I'm like, why didn't I do it? Instead of showing him my bloody hand, which would have obviously escalated the case because now we got some kind of drama going on where a cop can see something physical has occurred. Instead of showing him my hand, I covered it, y'all. I covered my hand. I didn't show him what happened to me. And to this day, I still be like, why? Like, why did I not tell and say, look, he did this to me. Go get him. I said, I'm okay. I might cover my hand with my phone or something. I'm okay. He's gone. So it's all right now. And I don't know, y'all. Like, I don't have an explanation, but my point is, this is a lot of times what happens where a victim begins to cover for their abuser out of fear, meaning fear of the threat of violence, out of fear of losing the relationship, which whatever you want to call that relationship, whatever you even think that might be, is nothing really, but you think it's what you have to hold on to because you're married, because you have kids, because you don't know how you're going to make it if you don't have money and that's your breadwinner. There's a lot of reasons. Because if the cops go get him and don't lock him up and he comes back to that house, guess what's going to happen to you? Don't discount a victim's fear. That stuff is real, y'all. It's not just as simple as leaving, as people like to say. There's a lot that a victim has to think about before she leaves. Okay. Okay. So here's the part that gets me because it's my story as well. Page 93. She says her desire to protect her son, his name was Bobby. Her desire to protect her son, Bobby, spurred her on. Here's what she said, quote, "I didn't want Bobby to ever grow up to be an abuser. I wanted him to have self-esteem and believe that to be a man and a father figure is a good thing. Thank you." I felt the same way. The same way. I'll get to that in just a second. She fantasized about getting herself and her son away from her husband, but he kept her, in her case, he kept her too poor to leave. He kept her too poor to leave. Now, this same thing is a huge part of what was driving me to get out of my marriage. I refuse, and I say it this way, I refuse to allow my daughter, my beautiful little princess, a little sassy, smart butt, I refuse to allow my daughter to think that this is how daddies treated mommies or how husbands treated wives. No, no, ma'am, no can do. I did not want her to accept this kind of behavior from any man or, let truth be told, any person at all. Women too. We're not going to have those friends that ain't right. We getting them out. Nope. From any man or any person at all. She deserved, I wrote this down, she deserved peace. My baby deserved peace. And she deserved the best of me. And there was no way she was going to get the best of me when I was living like that and dealing with that and suffocating like that. So when I got my protection order in December 2017, I did it for her as much as I did it for me because she deserved the world. She deserved to feel like a princess every day, all day, every second, every moment. Let me check some of these comments. Whew. She or he, men suffer in silence way more than women. Ooh, wow, because we have found our voices. There's like space made for the voices of women who go through domestic violence. But you are right. It seems so difficult for men to say what they've been through. Midori, hey girl, thanks for joining. Midori says financial abuse. You have to normalize your legacy, not crappy behavior. Yes, yes. My baby, it was important for her to understand that that wasn't real life. That was some fictitious, messy, demonic, can I say that word? Some demonic version of life that she was not going to live, not while I could do something about it, not while mommy was here to protect her. Let's see what Chantel says. She said, I told my mother the best thing she'd done for me was to leave my abusive dad when she apologized for leaving. You know what? Ain't that something? She said sorry to you, but you like, mom, nope, nope. The best thing you could have done for me was to show me the right way, to show me how to react to this kind of situation. God is good. Thank you for sharing, y'all. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are awesome. Truth, it is a demonic spirit. Thank you, Midori. Thank you. I know I'm not crazy because sometimes some of the stuff that would happen, the looks in his eyes, I swear, I'm sorry, those weren't normal eyes. They were not normal eyes. And that was not normal, right, bright, good energy. It was dark, y'all. Abuse is dark. It is dark in so many ways. All right. So really good point. Page 98. I love y'all. Thank you all for staying tuned and for watching and for commenting. Page 98. They're saying, making a very important point. Asking why a woman stays. Listen, y'all, I'm transitioning. Page 98. Asking why a woman stays with an abuser is the sort of question that points inexorably to its own answer. Listen, if you ask the victim, ask, why does she stay? Why are they staying? Well, then you might as well be blaming her. You might as well be blaming the victim. So stop asking that question. The answer only becomes clearer when the question is reframed, or should I say, reframed. So reframe it. Instead of asking about the victim, ask about the abuser, y'all. Meaning, what tactics? Because this is not only the right way to look at it, but you also learn more. What tactics did the abuser use that got in the way of her leaving? Better question, Hamadori. Better question. What tactics did the abuser use that got in the way of her leaving? When you frame it that way, the answer is really, really clear. Now, in this woman's case, he held all the power. He controlled the finances. He controlled where she went and who she saw. Not only did he control her with money and isolation, he also controlled her with brute force. Let's be clear. One of the most effective tactics was emotional destruction. So I'm going to get into a little rant about me, which might take us a little bit over time past 8 o'clock, but this is important. I want to tell y'all some of these same things. What kept me, made it difficult for me to leave, escape. Here's some important points. Some of them were typical behaviors. Here we go. Creating fear with his presence or his voice. Absolutely. Physical and verbal threats of violence. Yes, I have heard that. Now, some people have actually experienced the almost death. I've gotten more so threatened with the bitch, you gonna die. Like, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to take your life. I'm gonna take you out of here. Taking and spending my money to keep me broke. Threatening to tell lies, straight up lies, about me cheating while I was traveling for work. Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Those came too. Stalking. Literally, he has come to my job, rolled through the parking lot. He also followed me. One time my mom was in town, but he didn't want me. She was my strength. She's a part of my strength. He didn't want me getting away and getting out with her. So what happened? We're at the restaurant. I happened to look and I'm like, oh my God, Mom, she's like, what? I'm like, that's him. She looked and we were like, oh, he is literally following me. He is stalking me, stalking us to the restaurant where we went to go eat. Crazy. But here's some more creative things he did. Y'all ready for this? He used to pretend that he wanted the marriage by agreeing to go to counseling, whether it was like marriage counseling in the church or marriage counseling by a private counselor. He always agreed, but it was doing nothing but delaying the inevitable, right? It meant nothing to him. It was all a show to throw me off his track. He would create this extended honeymoon phase to make me feel like things were back to normal. And in fact, he was only getting me to let down my guard. Listen, this is what abusers do, y'all. Midori, I know you know. Woo! He would create this extended honeymoon phase, like things were back to normal. All that stuff that happened a week ago, that was just a moment in time. This is the real me. I'm back. Remember this guy? This is him. I'm back, baby. All he did it for was to get me to let down my guard so he can get something from me. It was either my trust, my money, or to get me to go to some event that he wanted to attend and he needed me to help him get there. Oh, I could tell y'all those stories for days. Sex. Did I say my money? Did I say that? Okay, good. Let's just make sure we put that on the table. Okay. Money was like running water through my hands. Like it just, I couldn't keep it with him involved. He would actually also tell me that if I didn't do what he wanted me to do, check this out, y'all. This is where he got creative. That he wouldn't take care of our daughter while I was away traveling for work. Yeah, who does that? He would also not allow me, so to get me back in line and to get me doing what he wanted me to do, he would also not allow me to talk to my daughter when I travel for work. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine, y'all? Like, I know I'm getting on a plane and I gotta go somewhere. And all I'm thinking about is, gosh, I might not talk to her tonight. I might not talk to her till tomorrow or the next day. I don't know what he's going to do. So I need to do what he's saying so that he be nice. Let me be good, be a good girl so that he'll let me talk to her. Oh my God. Like, ah, mm, 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 mm. All right. A lot of stuff that happened that still just when I think back on it, it bothers me. And I thank God that maybe she doesn't remember. Maybe my daughter doesn't remember. I think a lot of the stuff she doesn't, and I don't want her to, because I want her memories to be that she had fun and that she had an amazing fifth birthday party and that she's got all these dolls and toys and she's got all these friends and that mommy loves her and daddy loves her. And that's what I want her to think. That's what I want her to think. All right. Last story, y'all. Becky. Becky's story is an excellent example of the world of manipulation and fear that abusers are able to create very well for victims. A world that is extremely difficult. I know people don't get it, but it's extremely difficult to escape. That's why I try to give y'all real examples of real things that happened to me, as well as other people in these stories, these women. She said, at one point, he said, did not politely ask you to stop wearing makeup. So now when he met her, she was wearing makeup. That's what she did. She liked her makeup. She liked her look. But it was, now I got you. I'm going to make a deal of it, a big deal of it. Didn't I politely ask you to stop wearing makeup? And if she wasn't wearing it for him, this was the thing he created. If you aren't wearing it for me, who you wearing it for? Wait a minute, wait a minute. I wear it for me. I'm not wearing it for your behind either. But since you asked, I'm wearing it for me. How about that? So that's page 102. Now we're to page 103. She said when their son was 3 weeks old, Becky told her husband that she wanted to take their son to see his grandparents for a few days. Truth be told, the abuse had already started. She knew what was going on, and she, in fact, planned to permanently escape from him. But somehow he could just sense that was the plan. I don't know how he sensed it, but he did. So this is what he said. He told her that she could go, but he warned her that if she'd better be back by Sunday night. He said, because if you don't, you're not the only one who's going to get hurt. So take a step back, y'all. In your mind, you're thinking, whatever, I would have said, I would have told his behind, you try me if you want, try me. I'm going to go as long as like, that's what we all think, right? We get the head moving, we get the neck moving, right? We all think that's what we're going to do. But you got to understand the totality of the picture. This man was able to put fear in her for many reasons, and one of which is because Becky's youngest sister, this woman in the book, her younger sister, Tracy, was mentally challenged. She was 7, and she was completely defenseless. So he would always threaten to make someone else pay. And he always specifically mentioned her little sister. Are y'all hearing me? We said demonic. This stuff is demonic. How dare you threaten to hurt a 7-year-old who had she's mentally challenged. If I don't come back when you want me to, you're gonna hurt my little sister. And you know what? That stuff plays out sometimes. People's family members do get hurt. All right, so let me see what else we got in the chat. I don't want to miss any comments. Midori, thanks, baby. She said, after the bruises were placed on my face, the makeup was no longer questioned. I guess not, right? Because why? I want you to cover that up. I want you to pretend you're all good. I want you to go to work and I want you to smile, baby. You smile and you make everybody think at work, at church, at wherever, on Facebook, that I'm a good dude. Put that makeup on. Cover it up. You know what we need to do, y'all? Stop covering up abuse. Stop covering up domestic violence. Stop hiding this stuff. Stop letting these dudes do it over and over and over again. Tell the story. Preach the story. Shout the freaking story. We need to tell people, look out for this. Don't take that. Don't allow this. Don't stand for that. Because I did, and this is what it got me. We got to be okay with speaking our truth and telling our stories. Because in the telling of our stories, I promise you, it is helping not only heal yourself, but it's helping someone else. I know it. That's why I do this every week, because there's somebody who needs to know that abuse looks like this too. It looks like the person that looks real well dressed and got a good job and all that, and educated. It looks like this too. But I was hiding it, and I am silent no more. Not for anybody. I don't care who you are. Never again will I stay silent in a situation like that. And that's my prayer for you, that you will never stay silent again or ever. You don't deserve that kind of treatment. All right. Let's see what we got here. That's it. Stop normalizing. We have to. Sharon, thank you, Sharon. Tell it like it is, sister, because we have to. We got to talk. I'm here for y'all as much as y'all are for me. Thank you for showing up. By you showing up, that is energy. That drives me. That reminds me that I'm doing the right thing for all the right reasons. Thank you so much. I love y'all. I love y'all. Thank you. We're getting close to the end. All right. All right. Page 104. Becky says she was afraid to stay and she was afraid to leave. She's in that zone of, what do I do? If I leave, he might do this. If I stay, he's going to do this because I know he does. And that's, people don't understand that place of confusion. It is a terrible place to be. She says she felt frozen in place. If I could just help y'all to understand a little bit more about what victims go through to even try to escape, and all the turmoil in your mind and in your heart. It is not easy at all. All right. She says, he even told her, this is page 104. She says, he even told her that he wasn't a proper mother for his son, that he was going to take her son away from her and hide him in a place where she would never find him. Do you see? Do you see how abusers use children? Oh, and that goes on for a while, even after you get away. Trust me, I know. It goes on for a while. Let me tell you a quick story. Another one I hadn't told before. Same thing about the threatening the use of the kids and how to use the kids to make you fear. I remember my ex-husband, I wanted to go to Philly, and I had told him I wanted to go to Philly to see my family, and I was going to go. This time, I had the money to do it. He hadn't taken it. And I remember telling him that I was going to go, and him telling me that I could not take my daughter out of state, because he made sure to say that, out of state, like I was taking her to California, I don't even know, to see my family in Philly. He said that if I did, he would call the police and he would tell them that I had previously threatened to kidnap her and take her from him. Y'all hear the story that he built up? Oh, he said he's going to call the police and tell them that I had previously threatened to kidnap my own child, and that was what I was doing by taking the trip to Philly. You better not cross state lines. If you cross those state lines, I'm calling the police. It was all of that. Y'all hearing me? This is constant. I'm going to create fear for you in every way possible. I'm going to make you question every move you make. I'm going to make you scared to do anything. I'm going to make you scared to take a step forward just by threatening, because you don't actually know what I'm going to do you? You don't know what I'm going to do you? Oh, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. All right. Yep, that happened to me. Page 106. Thankfully, now we're still talking about Becky. Thankfully, her husband had to take a trip for work and she was able to escape. She used that time when he took a trip for work. She was able to escape with her son to her uncle's house. And she actually remained safe for nearly 30 years. But she says it was years before she really believed that she was safe. It's a shame. Real quick, I'm getting to the end. Becky firmly believes, and this is kind of a bigger picture comment, okay? We're near the end. Bigger picture comment. Becky firmly believes that domestic abuse will only end when there are fairly significant changes in our society. She said, if we continue to teach our children, now she's a woman saying this, okay? If we continue to teach our children that men are special, if we continue to punish men, if we continue to not punish men for raping and pillaging just because they're really great athletes, then we're not going anyplace as a society. She is so right. Now, page 112, despite the common image of a battered woman as weak, as passive, as a rather helpless creature, women in abusive relationships, listen to me, y'all. Women in abusive relationships generally understand the realities. I know y'all don't think so, but they generally understand the realities of their situations far better than they are given credit for. I did. There was a point where I really understood what I was in, and the magnitude of that, I had to process it and figure out, how in the world am I going to unravel this mess and get myself safely out of it? How am I going to divorce in such a way where he doesn't come for everything I got and take it? I worked so hard for it. All right. So listen, escaping. I'm gonna say escaping, not leaving. Escaping. Can we normalize that word, Midori? Instead of leaving, just leave. It's escaping. Escaping requires a strategy. I know everyone wants to see victims break free. I know you want to see them leave, and so do I. I wanted to see myself out of it. But trust me, y'all, trust me, with all the threats that victims receive from their abusers and all those, not just threats, because some of that stuff comes to life. Midori's story is crazy, okay? With all that stuff they've been through, the plan has got to be tight. It's got to be tight. So if you are a friend, a sister, a mother, a pastor, whatever your role is in that victim's life, please understand that he probably has a better picture of their situation than you think, and they are more aware of the realities of the situation than you think. And be a sounding board. Be a sounding board to help them figure out what's the right, safest way to get this thing done. It is not easy. It is nothing to be sneezed at. I've got some comments. Midori said something about our legal system. Oh yeah, I could go on for days about that, and I promise you I will at some point. I will talk more, and I'm going to try to bring somebody on here who can help me with that discussion. Midori said, preach, thanks, sis. All right. Yes, you need a plan. We're going to close on this. Yes, you need a plan. Like doing something strange to hide your piece of change. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I did that. I told y'all. I started figuring out, how am I going to keep my stuff safe? Or I think she means squirreling it away so that you can have a little bit of money to leave, which is not easy because sometimes these abusers are all over your wallet. They are all in your business. They try to control everything and isolate in ways that y'all can't even probably imagine if you've never been through it. But listen, we are at the end. It is 8:06. Y'all have been phenomenal guests. Thank y'all. Thank you for being on here. I really appreciate it. I can't say it enough. I get on here every Sunday, and listen, I'm going to get on here whether I'm talking to nobody or talking to somebody. And y'all made it special today because I'm talking to somebody, a bunch of somebodies, and you guys commented and everything. And do know it's not easy to share this stuff, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. If it's reinforcing another victim who survived and got out, if it's reinforcing her decision to leave, or helping a victim understand the importance of leaving and giving you the courage to get out, whatever it takes, I'm here for all of that. I'm here for all of it. Y'all hear me? All right, listen, check this out. Next week is section 3. Section 3 is next week. This book just gets better and better, and the points that are raised in this book just bring me so much clarity. But I got to let y'all in on a little surprise. Y'all ready? Let y'all in a little surprise. On Sunday, August 29th, Sunday, August 29th. Tanara, you still on here? That's my birthday. My birthday is on Sunday, August 29th. That is the same day I'm doing an episode. It's a special 44th birthday episode. When I tell y'all it's going to be special, don't miss it. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to do some advertising. I'll do all the flyers, all that kind of stuff, and get it out there. That episode is going to be what we say nowadays, fire. It's going to be fire. Sunday, August 29th is my special birthday bash episode. I'm going to have an amazing, amazing time, and it's going to be very, very special to me. This one's going to be super, super special. So make sure you tune in on Sunday, August 29th. Come next week, too, if you can, and the week after. But the 29th is my 44th birthday, and I want you to celebrate with me. All right. It is 8:08. It is time for us to bring it down because it's Sunday night. We got to go to work tomorrow. We got to do our thing tomorrow. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Thank you so much for your love, attention, comments, all of that. You guys are the best. All right. I'm out. See y'all soon.